Okay, I am joined by Jasper Harmer of the incredible Beyond Extinction. So first of all, let's start off. Happy Monday, sir. How are you?
Thank you, bro. I'm doing really well. I'm having a pretty good day. It's good. We're on the lead up to like album release, so every day is getting a little bit more like exciting about that. But yeah, I'm doing good, man.
Cool. Just so everyone out there knows, the release is on the 26th of September, is that
Yeah,
correct?
man.
The
Yeah,
very
26.
day that this interview will be going out live, so the timing is
Nice one.
absolutely impeccable on that.
Perfect.
Now, I do want to start off with the single that was released, well, I say a few months ago, it's more than a few months now, but Winter Sun.
Yes.
Now, this was a really cool song and I really dug it. But I understand there was sort of quite a lot of, it was quite devastating in nature in its creation, as well as being quite atmospheric. And if I'll say so myself, uncompromisably heavy. So I can
Yeah,
speak.
yeah.
Now, what were you aiming to sort of like do with this particular song and track capture with this track, uh, and well, demonstrate where Beyond Extinction are heading musically at the moment?
Well, we're really lucky that we had Danny Russell, our new guitar player, join. He actually started doing stuff with us at the start of 2024, when he was playing live guitar for us for a year, and then it was really apparent quite quickly that he'd work out for us. And what he brought into the band, along with all his personal attributes, was a really quick speed of writing heavy music. And he put out Winter Sun to us, and he put out a few other songs and other demos to us that were just really, really good from the get go. And that kind of modern, heavy, like just expansive but destructive sound, he's really good at generating that. So we lucked out with him bringing that to the band. But I think that that songs like Winter Sun, Danny's had the biggest influence in, and you can really like taste and smell and feel his kind of like that presence that he puts in, man.
Cool. Uh, just with that answer, you jumped on higher to a question I had later about Daddy, but we'll ask it anyway so
Amazing.
we can expand a little bit.
Yeah, of course,
Now,
mate. Definitely. Yeah, yeah.
Winter Sun actually came along with a pretty cool music video. I want to ask what the concept behind this was with the visuals and how you decided to go with this look on the video.
So we first of all we decided quite early on we were just going to do all of the stuff for the album in house creatively, and I mean we knew we were going to sacrifice on our ability to create some really amazing, like massive steps forward for us. But we've put budget in certain places and we had to save it elsewhere. So we thought, let's create something good. Let's create a usable bit of material that operates for content and is able to be viewed, but also does tell a story. And that story for us involves through all the videos um the human use of weaponry and killing basically, and the idea of like kind of what death is. And I think that when we released a video for Tyranny, that was focused around kind of ritual death and destruction in the sense of sort of like a spiritual meaningful sense. With Winter Sun, it was in more of a kind of panicked, almost terrified sense, and the evolution of violence. If you look in the video, there's lots of things like the medieval mace, the crossbow, the sword. These are all the crossbow and the mace are actually my parents, and they're really old bits of history, like really sick actual bits of kind of like medieval weaponry, and they represent that kind of expansion of violence. And Apache's video is from the point of view of a modern killer machine. And yeah, that theme of kind of violence and destruction has carried through all of the content we've tried to put out to do with the album.
Cool. Now, you already mentioned Danny joining the band in 2024.
Yeah.
Um, and I understand he's sort of been described as setting a new sort of direction and course for the entire band. Yeah, how did his arrival sort of help shape your sound going forward? And I know you've sort of answered this a little bit, but how did his creativity bring to the process?
He's written in other bands like that are really good before that are very different to us. So I think he allowed us to kind of go down a different avenue. I think it meant that we had a new I guess a set of influences to add to our ones. But also like Danny knows us well as people. Like we've known of his band and him as a person since we were way younger, and he's known of us in the same way. The first band that he was in called State of Millennia, when they did their farewell show, we opened or supported that gig for them. So like he's been around for a while, so I think he gets it, and like I know he gets it now, but I think when he joined, he got it from the get go. And I remember I met up with him just before he actually joined the band, and we had like a meeting in a cafe, and it was meant to kind of be just like chat about what the band was going to do and whether he'd fit in with it all. And it ended up just being a really good chat about life in general. And you just sort of got that impression from that. We're just like, man, he gets it. And like everyone in bands, everyone clashes and everyone has different personalities. But yeah, he's just added like energy and enthusiasm and skill in loads of measure. So yeah, we've been super lucky to get him in, and he's a like firm embedded part of what we are now. It's great.
Amazing. Now, the big thing that's up and coming is the album. It's the debut album, I believe, Where They
Yes,
Gather. And it's out on the 26th of September, as I mentioned, which is the day this interview is going live. I love it when a plan comes together
amazing.
like that.
Yeah, good time.
And I've just
Very nice.
realised I've completely ripped off the A-Team line there.
Nice.
Unintentionally, but I have to give it a shout out.
Yeah.
Um, now, how does this album like sort of capture, Beyond Extinction's actual evolution? Because you've had two EPs before this. Um, and how has it sort of like helped, you know, shape you guys so far?
We've had to spend like a lot of time doing this album over like the space of years. When we started writing this album, it was parts of it were from before we released our last EP, Nothing More Wretched. And obviously Zach wrote on that. He passed away. We've had members change, all this sort of stuff. So it's been like a mad, a winding sort of journey to get here. But I think that that's sort of that's like seasoned the album. Do you know what I mean? It's meant that like it's been such a brutal process of going through it all that only the kind of best stuff has come out, and I think we're better for it. And I think the effort and the hardship that we went through in the process of making the album and through the period of time, that meant that we were able to kind of reflect that in like a really devastatingly kind of real atmosphere with the album. So we're very excited to get it out. We can't wait.
Cool. Now, you already mentioned this was like several years' work. I think it was like 3 or 4 years worth of work that went into this.
Yeah,
And you did mention, the loss of Zach. So first of all, my condolences for that, because I
thank you,
know
mate.
how hard
Thank
it
you.
can be.
Yeah.
How was, his loss? You know, how did that help sort of produce this album going forward, and what influences did he still bring to it?
I mean, he had tons of influence on all of it. I mean, like both I think it's important to say that first of all, like we wouldn't be the musicians that we are and the people we are without the impact he had on our lives. So we need to appreciate that as individuals, that who we are is part of what he's made us. Also, what he's made us is part of who we are, which means creatively what we put out is kind of the result of what he's done for us too. But also because literally some of the riffs on the album he wrote, like some of the songs he's written. In a couple of the tracks, he's got vocals that we've taken from other songs that he's done backing vocals on. We put them into the album, and that's really sick for us. Like we're really excited to have kind of like actual stamps of him on there, because the longer we can do that for and the more we can keep him in there, I think not just the better it is, but the more fair it is, because he put loads of work in. And sometimes I feel upset because I think he doesn't get to have the results of all the hard work that he put in, the satisfaction of this album coming out. But yeah, he put a lot of work into it as well. So we're really stoked to have him as part of it.
Cool. Well, I will say, the fact he is still part of it, that gives him a legacy that will
Yeah,
last at the end of the day, and that's important.
yeah,
Um,
definitely.
but I do want to ask, like, going through a tragedy like that for you guys, and I hope you don't mind me asking, how did, you find the determination to carry on as a band and actually keep yourself grounded through this period? Because it is challenging, like when friends, family, and everything pass on, sometimes it is hard to carry on. So, how did you
Yeah.
guys manage to keep going with this in mind?
It's yeah, it's really difficult, and I think that like I talk about it a lot, but the best way to look at it is we kind of decided, or at least we worked it, both the band and the people that were around us at the time and the circle of people we had and family and everything like that. Like that shaped a kind of ability to use the band as a tool for good rather than associate it with the traumatic experience. So instead of being like we think about when we think about the band, we think about what we lost. But we think about when we think about the band, we think about the thing that got us through that period as well. So yeah, extremely difficult, and the process of kind of persevering is really hard. And I think it's different for everyone. And the main thing is it's not about the actions that you do; it's about every day continuously working towards the same thing, no matter how close or far you feel from it. If you do that and you persevere, you will outdo 99% of things that will outdo you. So it was just a game of perseverance, really. But I'm lucky to have been around the people that I was around, and have the bandmates that I do that kind of work that way. Because yeah, it resulted in a brutal album and a lot of self growth as well.
Cool. That's a strong answer, my friend. I can't lie.
Thank you, mate. Thank you very
Um,
much.
Now, going back to the new material, you have been sort of playing these songs live and everything. How's it actually been received so far by the fans? I know Winter Sun's been like really well received, but have you
Yeah,
given fans anything else from this record, and how's that been received during,
yeah, we've
the shows you've
like
played?
sprinkled it in a little bit, I guess. Like the thing is, we like write music to play live, and we do all this stuff to play live. Like we're not trying to sit at home be an internet band. Like that's not what we're doing. So it's cool to be able to like experiment with it. And for the last few years, we've had like opportunities to put album songs in and out, and loads of the album songs that aren't released as singles have been in our live set for ages. And we're really stoked for them. We played a song called Mansions Burning on Bleak Horizons live recently, and for a few shows in August, and that went down so well, man. Like people love that one. We love playing it. It's really heavy and atmospheric, so we're super happy with it, man. Like we're loving it, and yeah, playing live is what it's all about. If you want to understand and get Beyond Extinction, you have to see it live. Like so many people that I know, they say to me when they've seen us play before, like I've had it before at gigs before when I'm on merch, or like I don't know, chatting to people after a show, and they'll say, "Man, like I've listened online and it was cool, but like seeing you is something different." And that's why I always say, I'm like, come and stand in front and let us do 30 minutes of music in front of you, and then you'll fucking get it. If you didn't before then, you definitely will now. Like,
Well, mate, you're preaching to the choir there because live music, no matter how
legend, bro.
much I lo might love a band, you see them live, they play a good show,
Definitely.
and it makes everything mu that
That's what it's
much better.
about, mate. That's what it's
Yeah,
about, isn't it?
exactly. Uh, Now, what do you hope fans are going to take away from where they gather, as a collective? I mean, you've obviously got what you wanted to portray from it, but what are you hoping people take away and interpret from it?
That's a really sick question. I like thinking about that. I like thinking about kind of what the takeaway from it is, because I like to disconnect myself from that in a way. I like to, when I write, it's just for me. Like all of it is just for me. I'm not trying to do anything to give something to someone or play into something. I'm not doing that. It's just for me and what I want, and I'm creating it for my own satisfaction. So I yeah, I don't want to be doing anything for any reason other than like um my lyric writing for a story I think is cool with words I like about something that's important to me. However, in the same way, when I want someone to listen to it, I want that song to hit them at that point in their life, and it speaks to them about the things that they're experiencing then. Because like for me, I can't control anyone's brain. If I'm making music and then I say, here's some music, but here's the rules of how you're allowed to like consume the music. It's not music. It's like a set of rules. It's an exercise or whatever like that. What I want is anyone to hear it and take away from it what they want to take away from it. And I think part of what that means is like understanding the basic message, which is heavy, dreadful music that makes you feel dread, music that has that atmosphere of evil and nastiness and darkness, and that feeling of kind of overwhelming awe, that and heavy riffs. If you get that, whatever else you take from the music is just down to you. And I just want that to kind of be portrayed. Now, if you want to go into the actual details of it and what I mean by it, then the album itself is much more to do with a story about a terrible city and a metropolis where the ills of humanity are kind of represented in the final settlement on Earth. And it's a hellscape that I was influenced by my experiences being in London quite a lot, and my experiences growing into an adult that kind of saw more of the reality of the world, I think. And I don't know everything, but I definitely know more than I did 5 years ago. And I think that's turned into an album that represents that. So yeah, there's a lot to it.
No, it does sound like it, but for a little bit I've heard, and not to diminish anything you've said, but all I've got from it is
Yeah, man,
essentially, and
nice.
sometimes that's all you
The
really
heavy music
need.
is what it's about,
Yeah,
mate. The
yeah,
heavy music is absolutely what it's about. And like I say, it's about live heavy music. It's about supporting stuff that's extreme, that's on the fringe of things, that that speaks to people in ways that maybe popular music doesn't, and being part of that kind of community. Like we're big fans of the people that were around in that way, and we're products of the alternative and heavy side of music. So we want that to be supported and sustained and loved and looked after. You know.
Cool. Now, I do want to ask, I've asked quite a few people this actually, because I'm old school. I love an actual full album and things like that. But
Yeah.
music has evolved quite considerably in the last 5, 10 years. So to get an actual album out is, I always think it's quite an achievement because that's not always the goal anymore. So my
Yeah.
question is, how important do you actually think a full album release is in the digital age that we live in?
I think it's important because I don't think that Spotify and single releasing and kind of playing to the algorithm is music. I think what it is currently is it's just the vehicle that music's in. And I think the vehicle that music was in the 70s and 80s was record labels driving around dropping CDs into shops. And that's what my dad did for a job, and that's what my granddad did for a job, and what they did for a degree of time and a small part of time. And then they started doing other things in music. And my family have worked in kind of music for ages. Unfortunately, none of them have worked in anything to do with record labels or heavy metal. So it's been of no use to me. However, what I did learn was a real love and appreciation for an album. And I've got loads of good memories of coming home from school on a Friday and my dad had bought me albums home from work and stuff that bands that I didn't know that I put on. Maybe I only liked a song of theirs, but that stuck with me for years and it kind of developed stuff. I remember my dad showing me Dire Straits and listening to the riff from Money for Nothing and things like that for the first time and loving that. And you know, an album to me means more than just like putting out the bit of music that I'm putting out now and like, should I do it? Should I not? An album is like a representation musically of where we are now as a band and this point in our lives and all this sort of thing. So it transcends just like you say, the kind of single releasing culture, which will die and go away eventually. And the bands that rely on it, unfortunately, will not stick around either. And some of them will adapt and some of them won't. But ultimately, we are here to release heavy music, and we're going to release 45 minutes of it, and it's ridiculous, and it like melts your brain, and we'll do that every couple of years, and those will be the markers of where we are at that point in time, and that will be the story of what we are as a band over our career, however long that is.
Yeah, that's a good answer. I mean, I'll admit most of my stuff is digital these days, but there's still
Of
something
course, yeah.
about an actual album, if you know what I mean.
Mm.
Even if I get it in a digital format, there's
Yeah,
something
yeah.
about the full release. Now,
Listening front to back, something like that.
yeah,
Yeah.
start to the end and just turning everything else off around you. Now, you
Mm.
did mention that, you've got like a family history in music, which is, for some people, it's that's a really lucky thing to have.
Yeah,
So I'm
yeah.
going to ask you, what's like your earliest memory of like when you sort of realized heavy metal and rock and this is your direction? Where did that come from?
Man, it's actually crazy because, like, I think for a lot of people, they have like a watershed moment, and I don't know if I did. I just remember like the first thing that I ever really liked, like in terms of like independently, was like I'm gonna just like this for me and just make it about me. Was heavy music. It was like going to shows and being around music and thinking about music and listening to it and talking to people about it. Like music was like a thing that I was like, that's music is big enough for me to have as my worshipful thing. That's my God. And I think that, like, I don't know, there's tons of memories that I could put on there, but a really important memory or set of memories that I have is being in the summer house. It was like a glass sort of cabin at the end of the garden of our drummer Niall, where him and his brother lived. His brother Adam, who I'm still friends with, and I was friends with at school, and um, he was in there. And Zach, our guitar player, who passed away, he would be there, and then Niall, our bass player, would be there, little Niall, and Jude as well. We did sessions there, and we'd play music there, and a lot of it was rubbish, and a lot of time we didn't have the right equipment and those things. But it was a great hangout, and that's what it was, man. Like music was like became everything that I loved was associated with it. It was like the way that I access those things. So I think that really I've never really been able to pin a moment on it because it's all been about that. But yeah, sitting out at Niall's house playing terrible covers of really bad bands at age sort of 13 or 14, that's when it all started for me, man. I think a lot of people probably relate to that in some sort of way. You know what I mean?
I can relate to that myself to a degree. I just couldn't play an instrument. I couldn't sing. I couldn't even sing heavy
I
metal.
couldn't either,
Like,
mate, and that's why I learned to do the screaming, man. That's why I learned to do all the screaming and shouting.
that's a good answer. Now, I do want to just like completely go off topic from music because before we started the recording, we had a very quick chat about Lego and being kind of nerds. Is
Yeah,
that all right? Just to ask you,
yeah,
like
100%,
you,
man.
what Lego sets have you got from the Star Wars world? Because
Yeah, man, great
we
question.
bonded a little bit over that beast back there. So
Yes, yeah, yeah, man. I've got to say, this might be my favorite question I've been asked on this interview cycle, so I'm very stoked on that. I recently, oh man, this is such a good question. Okay, so I have a pretty minimal collection now compared to the things that I used to have. I used to have a load of like crazy stuff. However, my favorite random little item I have, and I think this will be a more niche one, is my mum a few years ago, because she's lovely, got me a for my Christmas gift, got me a Star Wars advent calendar. So for 24
yeah.
days, every day of Lego Star Wars came out of it. And on day, I can't remember what day it was, one of the ones towards the end, I got Emperor Palpatine in a outfit where he had his lightning bolts and stuff and everything was normal, but he had a Christmas jumper on with a Death Star on it with like a stitch pattern. And I have that still in a little crate. And I love that. I'm a big fan of that one. I'm a big fan of the little kind of miniatures and stuff. But I'm hopefully building up a collection a bit bigger soon. I want to get some UCS ones like the Millennium Falcon you've got there as well. That looks fucking awesome, mate. But
Well,
yeah.
one that's discontinued now was the Slave 2 from Boba Fett's
Yes.
ship, but they have just released the original one. So
Yes.
the
They
Jango Fett
have.
one.
Yeah.
I'm sort
Yeah.
of like I'm there going, well, I do want it, but I want the old one. I can't really,
The thing is, it's hard as well because I thought that too. So like I have my girlfriend got me the U Wing for a birthday gift, and they did a U Wing probably about 5 years ago now for Rogue One. There was a different build, and that build I definitely prefer the way it's built. However, the modern one, the character set that you get with it, far better. You get much better characters, much more unique ones, dual molded legs, like really good modern Lego figures that become the best ones that will do for that run of sets. And that makes it up for me. So I think for me as well, like you say, like you want to get the certain sets and you want to get the certain builds, but also if you can get a nice run of minifigures with it as well. Like I've started having to accept that I'm a bit of a minifigure guy. I'm buying into that whole train, unfortunately. So that drives most of my purchasing.
don't feel bad about it. It's one of these weird ones. One of the other things we chatted about was the soon to be released Death Star, and I looked at that
Yes,
and I
mate.
was like, yes, I love it. Wait a minute, I hate it. Wait a minute, I love it. There's so much to love about
Yeah,
it, and then
man.
you turn it to the side and it's just a disc.
Yeah, exactly, mate. Yeah,
So where do
she's a
you
bit of a
stand
weird
on
move
it?
by him. So I'm not a fan in terms of the fact that I think that it's too much money. And what I don't like is that I think the way that you price something says a lot about how you feel about the people that are buying it. And I'm definitely not the sort of person that would feel anything but silly for spending $1,000 or the equivalent on a Lego set like that. That said, what they have done is create some really cool features, some really cool extras you can get with it, the hot tub trooper and things like that,
Yeah.
all this sort of stuff. So like that sort of thing, I look at that and I think, wow, they know what they're doing, they know how to do it good. But ultimately, I feel like I've had a glass of cold water thrown in my face with the price tag, and that's too much for me.
No, that's fair. Well, let me put it this way. If we ever do another interview and I've won the lottery, you'll know just because of what will be behind me. Because I would have just
Exactly,
wasted
mate.
my money on something that's not
Yeah,
quite right, but I won't.
amazing.
Jasper,
Yeah, me too.
I want to say thanks so much for chatting to us today. That was a great ending to the interview, talking about something that we love beyond music. So thank you so
Exactly, mate.
much. As I said,
Likewise, mate.
yeah, where they gather out on the day this interview goes out on the 26th of September. Make sure you check it out. Keep Zach's spirit alive. Let's go for
Yes,
it.
man.
Thanks so
Thank
much,
you
my
very much,
friend.
dude. Appreciate it a lot, man. Thank you very much for your time.
Cheers. See you later. Bye.
Nice, man. Bye bye.